So I never intended to ever be a teacher in my life. In 10th grade, I think it's called the P-STAT. You take that little test. And I remember mine said something about communication and teaching. And I was like, who would ever be a teacher? Who would choose that? And so after high school, I went to college and I got my degree in mass communications and advertising. And so I sold advertising for years. And when the industry kind of took a hit, I had already been contemplating, do I love my job? And I actually went and saw a career counselor, and I told them my dream job would be to do corporate training. And he had said, if that's really what you want to do, you're going to have to go back and get another degree. And so I settled on the idea of doing business and marketing education, because I'm like, I'll learn how to teach kids, and then I'm going to go teach people in the corporate world. It'll be great, and I'll never really have to be a teacher. And so I went through the program, and then when I started doing my student teaching, like, something started to change. And when people talk about your heart bucket being happy, it was the first time I really experienced that. And all of a sudden on Sunday nights, I was like, wonder what the kids did this weekend. Oh, I can't wait to ask them about this. And I really looked forward to going to work for the first time ever. And I was like, oh, I think I'm actually going to teach. So my first day completely on my own, not student teaching, was actually not even here in the United States. I decided that I was going to teach internationally after I finished teacher school or teacher college, and I got a job in Mexico. I was like, everything was completely new and upside down and in a place where I didn't speak the language fluently. And so I don't know what I thought my experience was going to be like, but on the first day of school, it was just really overwhelming to be like, oh my gosh, this is actually my classroom. These are my kids that I'm going to meet. But I also was doing it in a whole different cultural context. And so I think I was taking a lot in, but also being so nervous. It's one of those things where I think back on and I'm like, God, I don't even know what happened that day. And I just remember being like, wow, I think I'm a legit teacher now. I don't know that I would give this advice, because I don't think things would have worked out continually the way they would if I didn't learn this, because it took me about 3 years to learn this. But advice I would give myself or other new teachers is it's okay for kids to make mistakes, and you don't have to swoop in to save them from the mistakes. And it took me a really long time to figure that out about like, well, they don't have to turn in a perfect paper, or they don't have to get everything right before they walk into an exam, or I don't have to quiz them constantly. Like, the biggest learning that we all have, regardless of our age, is sometimes through mistakes. And it's being able to look at those mistakes and saying, oh, here's how I can be different next time. And I think as a first-year teacher, when I was starting out, I wanted to save all the kids from all those little mistakes. And slowly I realized I didn't need to. And one of my biggest success stories, I would say, is I had one of my students in Mexico. Part of what we had to do as teachers, where we were given, I think 12 different students that we had to meet with once a month. We could just pull them out of whatever class, and we were like their mentor. And I had one student, Ben, and my first year there, I pulled him out of class, and he was a sophomore. And he said, oh, Miss Avi, you don't need to get to know me. I'm going to get kicked out of here in the next month or two. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, I have 2 older brothers. They were kicked out. And so I'll eventually get kicked out. And I just remember being so sad by that, and just kept trying to find him and talk to him. And he made it all the way through sophomore year. And then his junior year, he was in my classroom. And I realized how smart he was and how brilliant he was. And all I did was care. I cared about him, and it completely changed his entire attitude towards school. And he now is working at this huge accounting firm in Mexico. He's going back to get his master's in it right now, and he still messages me, and he says, everything I do is because of you. Like, no one had ever believed in me before, and I just can't believe that this is who I am. And he, like, anytime he gets any award or any job or anything, he still reaches out And it just warms my heart so much because I really didn't do any of the hard work. He did. I just believed in him. And it's those little moments as a teacher that make the lows bearable, is just hearing back from students and saying, or like hearing how, one day might have touched them forever. Oh, Miss Emma. I remember when you came in this year, you're one of the groups that, this is weird to say as a 40-year-old woman, but I still feel judged by some small groups, and not that judged in a good or bad way, but I knew you were in one of those groups. And so I was like, oh, I got to try to and not knowing how you guys felt about me. Because I feel like my emotional intelligence, my ability to read people is usually on. And so, but it took me longer to break into into that little group. And so I don't think I had thoughts about you specifically when you first came, but the little group you sat in, I was a little nervous about, because I didn't know how you guys felt about me, and I'm pretty sure you just rolled your eyes at me for a while. But knowing you guys now, knowing Maddie I do, knowing you I do, and Noah even, it's awesome. And that's what I love about being together for that semester and getting to know you guys. I think this is really hard for me because I've battled this a lot in the last 3-4 years, because I wanted to always be remembered as someone that cared about my students. And while I still want that, I look less for the did I care because I made things easy? And I want students to know that I care, and that's why I make it hard. And so I understand that my reputation might be that I'm very rigid and I don't have a lot of gray areas, and this is my high expectations that I have for everybody. But I do that from a place of love, because I want you to go out of these hallways someday and be successful in the real world. And I want to know that I helped you know that that's what it's like out there, and not that I sheltered you from it because of love. I want to expose it out of love, and prepare you as much as I possibly can. So I want students to think back and be like, oh, I had her. She was really tough. But you know what? I did learn stuff in there. Well, my hope is that as your personal finance teacher, that you feel that you are more financial literate than the day you walked in, and that you feel good about decisions that you're going to be making soon that are completely your choices, about how much debt you're going to take on, about how to start credit and then manage your credit, and about how to set yourself up for retirement, even though it seems eons away. Doing the magical compounding interest savings that you can do now is going to make a huge difference. So I hope that you think back on this class and you don't have to remember everything about it. But if you just go, oh, yep, here's this benefits package. Oh, here's something about a 401k. Oh, I remember Miss Lugo talked about this. And then you kind of look and research, that would be, that's what I want.